All right, good evening, world of Expat Explore. Welcome to another episode of On the Road with Matt, Vic, Branden, and Luke. This is episode 12.
Woohoo.
12! Episode 12!
Wow.
I think 3 months, guys. 3 months.
3 months.
Of catch-ups. Yeah, it's been nice catching up every week.
How time
It really has. Yeah.
For our viewers who noticed, just the four of us this week. Those who've been tuning in will be aware that we've had guest appearances the last several episodes. However, this week we've decided to go back to our roots, I guess, and focus on your four original hosts. Because you may have seen the announcements that we've been making about us having been given tours for 2021 next year. And we've had our guests try and promote the tours that they've been allocated. Now it's our turn. And this week, Luke will be talking about his tours through Great Britain and Northern Ireland. But before we get into that, I just want to know what are you guys up to. Let our viewers know, how you're tracking, how you're doing, and how things are going where you are. How are things in New Zealand, Vic?
Yep, so I'm still down here in Auckland, in New Zealand, and you probably heard we're doing pretty well with regards to our COVID fight, but of course we're pretty isolated. So, I'm feeling good about the fact that it's nice and safe here, but I'm also I am feeling a little bit like I'm trapped because I normally travel so much, and
do you need us to come and liberate you from your country?
I feel like
we need to send a care team, a rescue team, and people bust you out.
Could you? I would love that. People keep making jokes about Kiwis and New Zealanders, obviously, and Kiwis don't have any wings. So we're like, it's outline.
As opposed to other fruits that do have wings.
I've never seen like is a kiwi a bird? My goodness.
Yeah.
Is it a bird? Doesn't have wings?
When I went to America, I remember the first time they told me there was some kiwis in the fridge, and I was like, what?
Why are they in the fridge? They like it.
Was that the fruit?
Yeah, well, because we always call it kiwi.
One of my favorite fruits.
But they just call it kiwi over there. Anyway, I'm like a bird without wings. I'm here. I'm safe. It's winter, and I wish I was in Europe. I wish I was with you guys. But I'm keeping positive, and I'm looking forward to 2021, ready to get back to work. That's me.
Cool.
Very good. Yeah. Well, I'd love to come visit you, Vic. Had been my plan to maybe come over for some skiing when that travel bubble opened up, but unfortunately it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Would you say that the bubble popped before it was created?
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
it's like when you try and make it out of washing up liquid and you go to blow it and it just like falls apart before it forms a bubble.
Well, Victoria, not me, but Victoria, the state of Australia, have ruined that travel bubble.
They're not having a good time.
Yeah, gone into stage 4. So for any of our viewers in Victoria, hope you get through it well. Just do what you got to do, and hopefully it'll pass sooner rather than later. What about you, Luke? What have you been up to?
Oh man, everything. So here in the UK, like lockdowns, well, it's funny here because as you would have seen from the memes and the jokes on social media, we get told one thing, then we get told another thing, then we get told another thing, then they go back to the first thing. So like we were told masks are bad for you, don't wear masks. Now you have to wear masks in some shops, but not all shops. However, in 2 weeks, there are other shops that you don't have to wear masks in, that you're going to have to wear masks in 2 weeks' time. And so the UK generally has opened up. Bars, restaurants, public spaces, cinemas, some museums are all opening. However, there have been some minor lockdowns in some smaller cities. Manchester is thinking about imposing a new lockdown. Leicester had their own micro lockdown, but the government has given power of these to local councils, but they don't have the means to facilitate them. So it's all a bit weird. But as always, I am just in my own little world, my own little bubble of me and the people I know. And I'm just going into the nature, to the woods. I've been doing a lot of camping on a local nudist beach that I'm very fond of. And it's wonderful.
That doesn't sound like you.
Yeah, Yeah, I know. It's great. And I'm going up to Liverpool for a few days soon, which I'm very excited for. They're all good up there. So for me personally, it's all good. Again, just very desperate to be back on the road touring. I've been reading over my tour spiels, like just looking at them, and I'm just I want to be delivering them, and I'm missing being in front of groups of people on stage. As we're performers, yeah, I mean, we're performers, we're entertainers. And when we're not performing and entertaining, I feel like my soul is just slowly deteriorating away from me. I don't really feel
Can you imagine that first day of that first tour when things kick back off again?
I'm going to explode.
I'm just so excited anyway, and this time it's going to be insane.
Yeah. Well, it's good you're getting to go to Liverpool, Luke, because that's on the GBIR tour, so you can kind of pretend, yeah? Or is it not?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. I can actually pretend. So it is on the GBIR tour. Yeah, we stay there night number 2, and we go to the cavern. So I'm going to be going around all the tourist sites. I'm just going to pretend that we're there. Like, guys, we're now on day 3. We've been on Penny Lane, blah, blah. So that's going to be good. I can pretend. And I'm actually meeting someone up there who is starting their own bit of tour work in Liverpool in the future. So I'm going to be going through some things with them that maybe they're going to be doing. So I will actually be getting to maybe do a little bit of touring whilst there, albeit
that's awesome.
In a non-professional manner. But yeah.
Oh, should wear your expat shirt, Luke.
Always wearing the expat shirt. Represent.
And what about you, Brando? How are things there? I think you've got the worst of it with zero alcohol. Yeah.
So again, for those of you who don't know, I'm here in South Africa, and we have quite a strict lockdown. It's been quite hard. We have no alcohol allowed, no cigarettes allowed, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but health-wise. But for people's sanity, I think it is starting to take its toll. We're in quite a deep prohibition here. But it's led to that kind of that thing being out of the way, with having no restaurants, no bars open, nothing that we can go and do socially. It's kind of sent me into learning a lot more about plants. So I've been spending. I know you guys love how much I talk about plants.
Every day we get a little Branden's plant update. Yeah.
You either hear about strawberries, you either hear about microgreens or something.
So Branden, can you?
Doing, yeah.
Sorry, no. I was just going to ask. No, can you get takeaways?
Yes, we can get takeaways. You can go to restaurants now, but the problem is that you can't have alcohol at restaurants, which isn't the main point. But what's a dinner without a nice glass of wine? Eh?
What's a lockdown with being able to go to a restaurant? That's not even a lockdown. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just a weird situation, to be honest.
And so you're growing your own vegetables anyway, so you don't need to go to the supermarket. Yeah. You don't need to go to the restaurant.
I mean, I forage out my garden now, so the only thing I do is I buy meat and I forage from the garden and I make my food. But yeah, we've been spending a lot of time learning more about how to grow plants at home, and basically turning it into ways that people can buy our systems and then they can use them at home, which is really cool. And they can grow their own food. We're trying to help people because things are tough and a lot of businesses are closed. And a lot of families are struggling to feed themselves. So we're trying to put some effort into finding out ways for them to do it cheaply and effectively.
That's great.
So yeah, that's what we're up to. Cool. It's been really fun.
And Matt, how's it going with you, Matt?
Yeah, all good here. So I'm on the Gold Coast living with some friends who are also in the tourism industry and going through the same issues, I guess. But I've picked up some casual work, just working at a BP. So if anyone's coming through Chindera in northern New South Wales, you might find me behind the console.
Okay, so Matt, I've got a big question for you because I got in trouble at a service garage the other day. Went out driving to go swimming. Surprise, surprise. And my brother was in there, and he was using the toilet in there, and I was sitting on the forecourt where the petrol pumps are, and I was just on my phone. I was sending a message to a friend, and then suddenly on the Tannoy system, could the man on his phone please stop using the phone? You are not allowed to be on the phone. And so I said, oh, are you talking to me, the man on the phone? And she was like, yes. And I was like, what? this phone? She was like, I was like, what's the problem? And she was going, you can cause an explosion. And she was doing this with her hands. And I was like, I can hear you talk. You don't need to do the dance, but that's fine. And I was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean an explosion? This must be a joke. So I, as a joke, got my phone and was like, if I were to throw it like a grenade, would it explode? Like, is my phone been hacked by the military? And then she was like, you must put your phone away. And then it turns out, apparently, this like rumor went around the world that there are vapors from your phone that can cause a spark and cause an explosion. However, a study was done, and there has not been a single case worldwide of a petrol station ever exploding from someone using it. And so apparently...
The theory is that because when you're pumping your fuel, right, there is vapors coming out, and that can catch on fire. Like,
it's like when you use a cell phone on an airplane; it can also explode.
Well, in the phone itself, it's an electrical device. They think there might be like a little spark or something. It could be lights, but.
So is that part of your training when you go on your first day of work at the petrol station?
Well, there is lots of reason or lots of things you shouldn't do at a pump. So one's, you're not supposed to be on your phone. You're not supposed to let kids fuel up the car.
The car's not allowed to be running, eh?
You're not supposed to have a petrol fire.
No.
Zoolander. Hey,
but the biggest problem is like static electricity. That has caused several fires.
Hey, Matt, did you just say you are in Queensland, but you go to work in northern New South Wales?
Yeah, a 40-minute drive.
Really? I thought the borders weren't even open.
No, so I just have a border pass, and as a border resident, I can cross between. But some days there is a big wait.
Ooh,
wow,
you live
that's
in
so
the
interesting.
Borderlands.
You can pretend you're going through the Balkans and having to cross a border.
Yeah. Exactly.
Watch out for kids with knives.
I just don't need to bribe the border guards.
All right, so.
Yeah, so just working.
Recording, I can see how much time we're using up, so we should move along.
Yeah, that was Luke's fault. He just went on a tangent.
Sorry, it was a funny story. I wanted to share with you guys. I haven't seen you guys in a while.
Save it for after the recording, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway,
These are the best bits.
We'll get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, and we'll hand the microphone back to Luke, of course.
Oh, yes.
And Luke, if you could,
Sorry, just on that, I like that you said meat and potatoes and talking about.
I know, right? Because literally all I'm about to talk about is meat and potatoes. Yeah,
like you
and sheep and beer.
Well, yeah.
100%. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about the regional tour that I've been assigned. I've got 2 dates for it. It's my favorite tour to lead. I've been quite vocal about this on previous videos. And this is the Great Britain and Ireland tour. Yes, it's a 13-day extensive tour of the Great Britain and Ireland, starting in London. We go in a sort of anti-clockwise loop. So 13 days, we go down towards Bath, Stonehenge, Cardiff, Stratford upon Avon, Liverpool, North Wales, Conway Castle, Anglesey, over to Dublin. We do a full lap of Ireland, which we're going to go into a bit more detail of in a moment. Probably one of my favourite segments of the tour.
Favourite time, yeah.
Ireland. Oh my God, there's just so much going on there.
So good.
And then we cross back over via ferry again over into Scotland. We go up into the Highlands. Spend an evening up there, then part of the next day down to Edinburgh, and then back down the east of England through to places like York, Cambridge, a stop at Alnwick Castle, eventually coming back down to London. So that's just a very brief overview of the tour. Again, it's a region, and so one of the reasons people come on regional tours, they're quite a different style of tour to some of the multi-country Europe ones, which do like sometimes 15 countries in the space of one tour. The regional tours tend to focus on just a handful of countries, sometimes one country. In this case, it's 5 countries, but all part of the UK and the Republic of Ireland. And one of the benefits of this is that you get to dive into the narrative history of a specific region of the world, and you have a much more intimate experience in getting to know these locations.
You know,
Branden,
that's my favorite part of that. Sorry, I was waiting.
No, I can see you. I can see your face burning. Yeah.
is the history. The history in the UK and Ireland is just, it was so well documented. So there is just so much to talk about.
Yeah, and like unfortunately as an Englishman, it's mainly me talking about how my people have oppressed the neighbours around us. So it's like,
you're the bad guy.
We went to Wales. We've oppressed the world.
Always.
We've oppressed the Scottish, and then we even more brutally oppressed the Irish. I'm sorry about this, but this is the history, and it is fascinating. Like, one of the great things about, like, for me, is that as an Englishman with Irish heritage and Scottish heritage, I get to talk about my own heritage, but a lot of the passengers that come on from America, New Zealand, Australia, they have ancestry in these countries as well. You know, you look at the history of Irish immigration, about 30% of our passengers have Irish heritage, some of them Scottish, so it's a bit of a journey of self-discovery for them on tour as well. It's not just like a big box ticker, it's an actual journey.
It's also a journey with lots of, sorry, carry on.
I was just going to ask if you do all the different accents as you're going along.
Yeah, sorry.
I've tried it.
I do the accents. Now, I will be the first to admit that I'm not very good at accents, but recently I've been practicing. And so, for example, for the Irish accent, I've been looking at certain words and sounds you can introduce. So, for example, as an Englishman, I would say home. But an Irishman would say home instead of home. And like, instead of time, they would say time. So like the time I went to my home, back home, I've been working hard in the field. And when I came back to my home after a long time outside, in the rain, harvesting my potatoes, it's been a very arduous task of mine. And so I do try to do the accents, but it doesn't always go so well. But that's part of the fun, you know, I'm a trier. So.
And another question for me, do you wear a kilt?
Yes, I do wear a kilt. So, okay, so my surname is Watson. My grandma on my dad's side, my grandmother, she used to make us call her grand-mère, even though she's not French. She just loved the term. That's a story itself. She's convinced we have Scottish heritage. Now, in Scotland, going into clan history, there used to be the Watson clan, or the son of Wat, and the Watson clan were actually clan security. They would be hired by other clans to protect them from other clans.
So just the baddest of all the bad.
Yeah, and so we have our own Watson tartan, and my nan got really into this tartan, and so I do have a kilt, which is of the Watson tartan, and on tour, obviously, as soon as we get on the boat into Scotland, I go straight into the toilets, I change, and then when we get back onto the coach, I am there in my kilt, and out comes my awful Scottish accent, which I might do later on in the talk when I'm feeling a bit more prepared. But yeah, and I'm sure the big question you're going to ask is, Luke, are you wearing anything under the kilt? And what happens is, if you're wearing a kilt in Scotland,
we don't need to ask that, Luke.
Especially if you don't have a Scottish accent, people will come up to you and say,
"No one asks.
Hey, you, are you a true Scot?" And if a man says to you, "Are you a true Scot?" what he's asking is, are you wearing anything under your kilt? And originally, I did used to wear some underwear, and I said, nay, I am not a true Scot. And then he would lift up my kilt, and then he would get really angry. So now, for my own safety and security, I don't wear underwear. Because you have to do it.
So then he lifts up your kilt, and then everyone's like scarred.
It's happened twice to me, not in front of passengers.
Oh.
It happened, I believe it or not, I've been wearing a kilt long before coming on tour with Expat. So I've already learned this lesson independently.
A few times. There is a photograph somewhere of a lady taking a photo up your kilt, and that is a passenger. So it does.
That is on one of your tours,
sometimes happen with your passengers.
People will try and take a peek. I've had people put their phones like on selfie mode and hold them down on the floor as I'm walking past. Not always passengers, of course, and things like this. So it's part of the banter. It's part of the experience. You know, it's part
laws against that.
Part of the sexual harassment laws. Anyway, you won't be filing any complaints, I know.
No. So again, I think one of the things Matt touched on a bit ago as well, like as Branden said, when he said the whole thing about meat and potatoes, people often do ask about what food is on tour, you know. And so there is going to be a lot of meat and potatoes, and you are going to experience every possible variety of meat and potato you can imagine. You're going to have mashed, roasted, boiled, sautéed, pied, stewed.
4 different potatoes on one plate.
4 different potatoes on one plate in 4 different ways. But it's amazing, and it's going to be delicious.
Do you get to try haggis?
You do get to try haggis. So there are many opportunities when we get over into Scotland, when we stay up at Loch Ness, when we go to our first hotel up there. The first night we're in Scotland, you have the potential of haggis. You can have it as a main, as a starter.
It's like a haggis pie. Oh my goodness.
Okay, so then a question for the foodie, because Branden also honestly, in all honesty, is haggis good?
It's delicious.
Haggis is fantastic. It's the best thing in the world.
When you get there,
it's a sausage.
Really?
It's not. It's like a giant sausage.
Lining or something?
Yeah, when you describe it, it sounds awful. It's all the
sausage.
So you're taking the inside of the sheep, so the kidneys, the heart, the liver, all these bits mashed up, often
leftovers, and
a few bits of spices, stuffed into the lining of a sheep's stomach, twisted at the end, like Branden says, a giant sausage, but it's usually about this big, put in the oven and roasted, and then it'll often be cut into slices, and you'll have a ring of it and what you call haggis meat tatties. So
haggis neeps and tatties
in Scottish, is vegetables,
thing.
And the neeps will often come in the form of mashed swede with the potato, and then tatties is potato, and you'll have a ring of mashed vegetables, a ring of mashed haggis, and then a ring of the mashed tatties, all in like a tower. And then you'll have sometimes a creamy sauce. You can have a whiskey sauce with it.
Oh, the whiskey sauce is fabulous. Yeah. So with that, because everything's quite soft, to put it, sometimes they put fried onions on top as well. So you've got this flavor explosion. It's fantastic.
So it's quite dense.
Haggis is amazing.
Sometimes it has a little bit of a spice to it, depending on where it's made. And obviously the description of it doesn't sound so appealing, but if you like rich flavors and rich food, it's delicious. You've got to try it when you're there. Obviously it's a very meaty dish, not one for there are vegetarian versions and vegetarian ones. There is a vegetarian haggis that you can get.
Yeah. And I just want to say, I mean, you, Branden and Luke are the GBI are experts, but I think all four of us actually have British passports, yeah?
Yep.
Yeah. And the one thing that I've always, thought people get wrong, especially nowadays, is people think British food isn't good. But there's so many awesome local...
Have you heard of Hugh Fearnley Whittington? Have you seen Riverside Cottage?
I know. There's some amazing food in England and the rest of the UK. It's just
But you know what? I was thinking about this a lot the other day, and people give the UK a lot of kind of stick for their food. They don't always get the appreciation, but they don't realize that English food is there every single day. Something like a sandwich is English. Is English.
And so there's more to English than fish and chips. You know what I mean?
Just because they took over half the globe and now everyone's norm, at least in Western culture, is English. They don't really give it the attention that it deserves.
And you forgot our bestie, Branden, Gordon Ramsay.
What? I mean, he's English.
Jamie
and
Oliver,
so you got to think like the agricultural community here in England. Like when people think of farmers, English farmers are renowned worldwide, and so when it comes to seasonal cooking, there's such a wide variety of seasonal vegetables that we work with here, and the way we prepare our meats, from the English roast dinner to the shepherd's pie. To the various types of burger you can have, you look at Christmas time, you can have a 10-bird roast from quails, various forms of ducks, goose, lambs.
You can even have a turducken.
Absolutely. And so this is one thing that the UK generally that I love about this tour is people don't think of diversity when they think of the UK. When it comes to the food, the landscape, they think, it's just fields and sheep and hills and things like that. But actually, in terms of its size, the UK has one of the most diverse landscapes worldwide in that we have mountains, we have rivers, lakes, we have a desert. We have an official desert in the UK down in Guiness on the south coast. And so you've got the flat rolling hills of the South Plains, which is great for growing wine. We have what's one of the best sparkling wine. We have won the award for best sparkling wine in Kent 2 years running, Chapel Down Wine. Huge vineyards in the south. In the north,
not know that.
There are orange farms in Scotland because you get the Gulf Stream going up the west coast. It's warm enough in parts of Scotland to grow oranges up there. We have citrus fruits.
Amazing.
And so in terms of diversity of landscape and food, there's a huge amount going on here for such a small space as well.
And the accent changes every 5 minutes. It's fantastic.
Oh my God, I can walk 10 minutes up the road and you've got your bad boys of South London. Yes, bruv, what's going on? To your Scottish Highlands and you're going up into the mountains and wearing your kilts and
what's that yummy Scottish breakfast made from fish?
Haggis.
No.
Nathan, fish. I'm allergic to fish, so.
Oh, that's right. You don't. Yeah. Okay.
Kippers. We have a lot of kippers here. Kippers are really popular in England. The yellow fish.
Yeah.
My brother has smoked haddock regularly for breakfast. Salmon is really popular. Scottish salmon is some of the best salmon in the world.
Oats. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I'm going to Google it.
That's
Scottish.
And in Scotland, you can. The best thing I love in Scotland as well, some of the places you can go, you can get a wee dram with your
wee dram of whiskey.
A wee dram. So a little bit of whiskey. So a touch of whiskey goes perfectly in your porridge. I mean, what a better way to start that.
Yeah. Talking of whiskey, go on, Matt.
Yeah.
I was going to ask, do you get to go to a distillery on the tour?
Yeah, so when we get to Scotland, we go to the Glengoyne distillery. And so the first day we get to Scotland, we drive up with a few stops on the way, and we make our way past Glasgow up to Glengoyne before going to the hotel up past Loch Lomond. Glengoyne distillery, established in the 1800s, is one of the more traditional.
Absolutely stunning.
Incredible. It's been preserved perfectly. It's in between two mountains. There's they source the water from the river that comes through. They've built it in the middle of the glen. Yeah. They've got the original peat chimneys that are kind of almost in the Japanese style there. You get to sample a 10-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 24-year-old whiskey when you're there.
Just quick, Luke. You know that time where you put your head down as the kind of the mash is
the grain
process. Have you put your head in there and smelt it before?
Of course. I'm a very sensory person. I'm a sensual man. I like the full sensory experience everywhere I go.
So basically, when they do this, when they show you how they're making whiskey, there's a section where you get to smell it, and it's releasing carbon dioxide, and it hits you, or you smell it, and it punches you in the face almost. It's such a weird experience.
It's mad. And so one of the big things that we do the whiskey tasting there, but whiskey is obviously a big part of Irish culture as well. And so it's said that there's no official date to whiskey being invented because distillation has been around since Mesopotamia.
Forever, yeah.
It's been refined by civilizations that have come along from the Greeks, the Romans, the later Italians, the French. But whiskey is said to have arrived in Ireland between the 14th and 15th century. Again, as with all alcoholic origin story, there's a religious aspect to it, the monks. And so it's said that the Irish created the first whiskey, but the Scots made the first good whiskey, is what the Scots will often tell you. The Irish will disagree. We do, and so the first whiskey we usually drink as a group on tour, it comes in the form of the Irish coffee. And so Irish coffee is one of my favorite drinks in the world. The first good Irish coffee we have the opportunity to try as a group is when we get to the Red Fox Inn on the Ring of Kerry.
I was going to say, you mentioned that.
Yeah, I know. I didn't mention it earlier. It had to come up.
I think you may have mentioned it on previous episodes.
Yeah, so the Ring of Kerry.
Every opportunity we get to talk about it.
Best. It's my favorite. It's my favorite day of any tour. Of any expat tour worldwide ever that I've run or I've been.
Any tour ever. Ring of
People
Kerry.
should book on the tour just for this day. Yeah?
Just people do.
And they should. It's worth it.
Every tour I run, I always ask passengers as we get to know them, why are you on this tour? What is it you're looking to get out of it? Because everyone has different reasons they book onto tours. And I have had passengers say that the Ring of Kerry was the main selling point they've heard. It's infamous worldwide. If you've ever looked into visiting Ireland, one of the first things people talk about that comes up on the tourist board of information, on Instagram, anything like this, is the Ring of Kerry. And the Ring of Kerry is the Iver Peninsula down on the wild Atlantic Way. And it's one of the most beautiful, iconic locations for natural beauty and to experience of the varieties of traditional Irish culture in one place, one day.
It's quintessential Ireland in a day. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Is that where the Blarney Stone is?
No, the Blarney Castle is in County Cork. That's on the way to Killarney. So yeah, that's just outside of Cork in Blarney. Blarney Castle we'll talk about in a moment. But the Ring of Kerry is an optional activity that we have as a day trip. And you do the ring anti-clockwise. It starts the day with Irish coffee tasting, and you go to the Peatbog Village at the Red Fox Inn. You have the famous dog on a donkey. High five, Vic. I've seen it. And you get to see a sheepdog show. So you see the traditional.
I love how subtle we've become.
Yeah, I know, right? And you go to various viewpoints looking out to the Atlantic. You see the Skellig Islands just off of there, where they film part of the new Star Wars films. You go to Sneem, and then you do some jaunting. When you go to Killarney, you get the Killarney National Park. You go on the horse riding with the guys that do the horse jaunts. They're like the hardest guys. So like, now on your left, you'll see the old leper colony. In the old leper colony many years ago is where my great-great-grandfather invented whiskey. No, he didn't invent whiskey,
got
but we
that
love
out of
you
them.
anyway.
I get nothing out of them.
Oh, they're the funniest guys you'll ever meet. So beautiful, beautiful day. But yeah, the Blarney Stone, you kiss in Blarney, that's on the way to Killarney. So the day before the Ring of Kerry, when you're travelling from Dublin, you go to Waterford, down to Cork, you stop at Blarney, where you obviously get to kiss the Blarney Stone if you're feeling brave. Blarney Castle, absolutely amazing. It was actually a Scottish stone given to the Irish by Robert the Bruce. After their help in the Battle of Bannockburn. And he gave it to the McCarthy clan
such a nice word,
down in Ireland. Bruce Brennan. And so it was given to the Irish as a gift, and then it was a few centuries later when they were trying to prevent Blarney being taken by Elizabeth I, an old woman, or a witch, so they say, said to one of the guys in the castle, if you kiss the stone, you'll be given the gift of eloquence, or the gift of the gab. And so as a result of this, he was able to convince Elizabeth I not to claim Blarney, and it was able to stay as part of his clan's heritage. And so the legend was born of kissing the Blarney Stone to receive gift of the gab. And obviously passengers are always like, oh, Luke, you talk so much, you have such a beautiful way of talking with your amazing accent, you must have kissed the Blarney Stone. And I'm like, of course I have done more than kiss that Blarney Stone. No.
Okay, so just before me is how many people have kissed that stone? Thousands of people every day. Yeah, COVID nightmare.
Oh my God, so many people. I mean, obviously now's not a good time to be kissing anything that other people have kissed.
Right. Yeah. What were you going to say,
anyway,
Branden?
I was just going to say, Luke, can you, just before we finish, can you do 30 seconds on Giants Causeway?
Yeah, so the Giants Causeway is one of the great wonders of Ireland. So there are two stories behind Giants Causeway. The first is the boring scientific one.
To hear the story.
Well, you have to go to. I'm not going to say the actual story. Don't worry. I'm going to give you a brief one. You have the geological explanation, and then you have the legend of Finn.
The truth.
The giant. The truth. Yeah. The legend of the giant Finn McCool. And I'm not going to obviously say it now. One of my favorite things, I'm a storyteller through and through. I love telling stories. It's my passion in life. And yeah. And so on the whole of the Great Britain Ireland tour, every stop has a legend, a myth, a bit of folklore behind it. And so the Giants Causeway is one where we really get to go into that. But getting to dive into the many stories, whether it's the Giants of Finn McCool, it's the myths and stories of the old clan warfare, it's the legend of the Blarney Stone, it's the story of the origins of the leprechauns. You're going to hear all these stories and bits of folklore whilst on tour, often with a silly accent.
So just a couple of quick fire from me. Do you get to find Loch Ness Monster?
You do. Yes, so one of the optionals, you get to go hunting for the Nessie monster, and you see it every time, guaranteed without fail.
You will see the Loch Ness monster.
And so the boat you go on, actually has sonar on the boat as you go hunting for Nessie.
That's cool.
And do you see Shakespeare's house?
You can see the outside of Shakespeare's family home where he grew up. Not his actual home was destroyed that he lived in as an adult, but his childhood home is still there in Stratford-upon-Avon. You all get to see it from the outside. There's an optional activity to go inside for the tour if you wish to.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one question. Do you get to drink Guinness?
You get to drink a lot of Guinness, and if you really want to, you get to pour your own Guinness in the Guinness brewery and the Guinness.
You can even put your face on it.
You can
put your face on it.
You give them your image and they can print it onto the top. So that's on the Discover Dublin Day. So we're in Dublin for 2 nights. And if you join the optional activity, you'll spend the day with me. You get to go to the Glasnevin Cemetery, to the Epic Immigration Centre, and then to the Guinness Storehouse as well, where you will get the opportunity to pour your own Guinness and drink it in the 360-degree infinity bar on top of the brewery, which is amazing.
Again, another amazing day.
Amazing.
Yeah. Now, I've already jumped in and asked heaps of questions, but my actual question, I think you've already answered, but it was, what is the best day on a tour for you as a tour leader?
As a tour leader. Okay, so obviously Killarney National Park and the Ring of Kerry is well, it's my favorite day as a tour leader and a passenger. I can't like. Okay, so also the first day we get into Scotland because I know right because I get to wear my kilt.
Also the day that we go to Liverpool and also the day that we go to Liverpool.
So like,
we come down, we go
one of the reasons, just very quickly, one of the reasons that it's so special is that I've lived in Bath, I've lived in Liverpool, I've cycled toward Ireland, I've toward Scotland, and so as you guys will know all too well, sometimes to your own suffering, I get very excited about showing people things that I've done. And things I get to experience. And so on this tour, there are places that I've lived in for many years, places I've visited and spent a lot of time in. And so I get these waves of excitement every time we go somewhere that I know particularly well. And so in the moment, they're all special to me. But
every day is the best day.
Lovely.
Yeah. Sounds amazing. I think we should wrap things up there, about to run out of time. So yeah, guys, if you are interested in joining Luke on the Great Britain and Ireland tour, drinking some English ales, Scottish whiskies, or Irish Guinness, then you can join Luke next year.
So my tour dates. Yeah, so there are 2 dates I've been given for this, and they are April the 24th, and I believe, I've just got to check the other one very quickly on here, is August the 28th. So April 24th, August 28th next year. If you do want to come and share a wee dram of whiskey, a pint of Guinness, a good English ale, if you want to learn more about the folklore, the myths and legends of the UK with me and hear some of my more wonderful but also awful accents, just make sure you say my name when booking the tour. And my name is obviously Luke, and maybe I will get to see you.
And of course, we all want to go on your tour, Luke, but you may.
Of course you do.
Guide, or you may get one of our other Great Britain and Ireland tour leaders.
Yeah, you can do it. Aaron's doing some as well. We've got an amazing tour guide. We have 2 Mikes. We have older Mike and younger Mike who both do this tour too. Equally wonderful guides. And again, we're all very qualified in these tours in our own way, but we also all bring our own little bit of special magic. And
we're all just a little bit different, eh?
Yeah, a little bit different.
But you all love the Ring of Kerry day, that's for sure.
A little bit different.
Also, just quickly, for any Harry Potter fans out there, any of you also have an opportunity at Alnwick Castle to ride a broomstick in the scene where they filmed the broomstick lessons in the first Harry Potter film, Alnwick Castle. So that's a big one. For many.
Wow, Branden will
like
one
of my favorite
Branden
days.
will like
and obviously, and then like Edinburgh,
one of the world's biggest tree houses.
Guys, we need to say bye, or we're going to get cut off.
We don't get to talk about my ghost tour in the.
Well, people will just have to come join you.
That'll be another episode.
So I'm saying bye from New Zealand.
Bye from South Africa.
Bye from London and the UK.
And good night from Australia. Hopefully see you guys soon. Good night.
Night.